So, we are here today to continue on our series of how to care for loved ones with Alzheimer's, because as a lot of you might or might not know, in October, there's a National Alzheimer's fundraiser that a lot of folks do, where we do an Alzheimer's walk. So, since we're going to be also participating in that, we thought it'd be a great opportunity during the month of October to be doing some education tips and tricks on caring for your loved ones with Alzheimer's, and just giving you guys a little bit of value and trying to help out where we can. So thank you all for jumping on and joining us for another episode. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in today. We're not wasting any time. And if you haven't checked out our first two episodes, make sure you do. We'll try to put those links below so that you can check out the whole series, because tons of great value in each of those videos. But today we're going to focus on a couple major points. Like we've kind of talked about earlier in the series, frustration is a huge concern when we're dealing with Alzheimer's patients and their families and caregivers. So one of the most important things to make sure we're focusing on, and a thing that we can kind of reinforce to everyone, is being flexible. So patients that have dementia or Alzheimer's disease will in time become more dependent on you for everything that they do throughout the day. And so what really has to happen is our caregivers, our families, our loved ones, everyone that interacts with them has to be flexible. So as much as we talk about being on a schedule and making sure we give them consistency, we have to remember to be flexible and adapt that routine and our expectations of them as we go throughout this process, because it's a journey, right, Brittany?
Yes.
I mean, this is not like a single process. This is kind of a progression and a journey that they'll be on.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is, like Annie was saying, as much as it's important to have a routine and have a schedule, Tuesday could be different than Monday was. Monday they could be perfect. They're on the routine. They even remember things from the past. And then Tuesday morning they wake up, same routine as always, but they're frustrated today. They don't remember anything. They may think a loved one is still around that who is no longer around. It's literally, I tell people all the time, every day is a new day.
Yeah. Every day is different. Every day is new.
Yeah.
What works one day might not work the next day.
And it's the same thing with nap time. They could wake up from their naps and it's, you're in 1964 and, when are we going to the carnival? And you're like, okay, roll with it.
They think they have to get to work because it's late for work, and they're a teacher and they think they're supposed to be at school. So yeah, you never quite know what you're going to get. But even just as an example of that, say that, your loved one is wanting to wear the same shirt and pants every day. And they are kind of stuck on that because they're just going back to, maybe it's their favorite outfit, or maybe they forgot that they wore it yesterday. Instead of trying to make that into a battle because, they're dirty, they can't be wearing that same outfit again, maybe buy a few identical outfits or items. Mm-hmm. So that way, if they're saying, no, I want my checkered shirt and my khaki pants, well, you have a couple in your back pocket that you can kind of pull out and that are clean. So they're still being hygienic. They're still getting a clean outfit, but in their mind, it's the same clothing. So they don't really realize it. And so that way we're not getting resistance, but we're able to make that process be smoother because we're being flexible.
And that's with anything. I mean, sweaters, their favorite sweaters, their favorite blankets, their favorite pair of reading glasses.
They get nasty after a while. And you
literally it's with everything, I wouldn't have realized this till I had a child, but it's like their favorite blankie or their favorite binky, where it's like, okay, if we lose this thing, the whole world's going to stop turning. So we buy multiples. So it's the same thing. It's like their favorite reading glasses. If you know where they got them, go pick up another pair. Just in case, what if something happens? Because if they lose them, I promise you, all of a sudden, it's going to be like an earthquake hit, and they remember everything. And I left them here, and they were here, and no, I used them over there. And you're going to be looking like, how did you remember that all of a sudden? Mm-hmm. Because that is the thing that they've attached to. And it could be anything. I mean, books, glasses, sweaters, like Annie said, checkered shirts. It's anything that they have somehow attached themselves to, and it's be flexible with it. If it's one of those things where, and you may have to, add more time, like we talked about earlier, where if they're just kind of fighting you back and they want to wear the shirt and the shirt's dirty and you didn't happen to find an extra one, well, then there's that flexibility where you're going to have to stop. All right, Mom, well, let me go wash it real quick and throw it in the dryer, and you may have to call whoever you were going to and be like, hey, we're going to be running a little bit late. And that's part of the flexibility. Instead of fighting back and be like, no, you can just wear this blue one. Yeah, I mean, if it's I promise you, it's going to make your day easier and theirs. Just wash the shirt.
Well, it's kind of like picking your battles, it's like with any relationship, you're going to pick your battle. And if that's not really life-threatening situation, then, let it go. That's being flexible. There are a lot of things that we're just going to have to let go of. Again, we make this comparison a lot, but it's like parenting, you have one vision in your mind of how things are going to go, but you got to pick your battles and let a lot of things go, because you realize very quickly it's not going to go the way you envisioned it. So you have to be flexible and just let it go. But, as we were on that same topic of, being hygienic and not wearing the same, underwear every day, we want to make sure we are creating a safe environment. So that's another huge area of focus that we want to encourage for any loved ones, caregivers, family members of those with Alzheimer's or dementia. Unfortunately, as a disease process, and I speak from, my clinical background on this, their judgment and problem solving skills are going to start to be impaired. And so they're going to become high risk for injuries. Just everyday kind of injuries, because they don't have the same executive level of function that they once had. So, we want to make sure everything around them is kind of adapted as needed so that they are less likely to have any of those injuries. So we've done a whole video on this. So if you haven't caught this video, make sure you check it out as well. But on fall prevention, all the things that we mentioned in that fall prevention video, make sure that you're implementing those. So I won't go into it in too much detail in this video, since we have a whole separate video for Fall Prevention Day. But, just the general things, avoiding clutter, having handrails, grab bars, all the things you need to put in place for
get rid of rugs.
We want to make sure we have those. And what's another safety tip? I know there's several that we have on here.
Another one's using locks. So from personal experience on this one, when my grandmother had dementia, she was living with us, and she also had sundowners. And it sounds crazy. I've been there, trust me. Lock everything. Child, the doorknob locks that you would buy to childproof your home. You need those. Cabinet locks, doors locks, where there's any type of chemicals. Because again, they may not remember that this blue bottle of cleaner, to them could be in the bathroom cabinet, because you happen to keep your bath stuff in there for cleaning the bathroom, but it also may happen to be in the same cabinet as Listerine, and they will go grab it, not knowing any different. So it's always important to keep chemicals locked away, knives locked away, obviously guns, alcohol, medicines. I mean, anything where there could possibly.
Gun safety, especially with folks that are going through this, is a huge one. And I will kind of jump in on that, because one policy we have in place as a company when we go into homes is that if they do have firearms, which we're in Texas, let's be real, most people have a gun. That's just kind of reality. But we ask that they have to be secured, locked, put away, or in the case of Alzheimer's and dementia, especially, we recommend removal from the home. I typically don't even let my caregivers in the home if I know there's guns that are even accessible to any degree with those diagnoses in place, because, for an example, our caregiver shows up, maybe that person's having an off day and they don't remember that they have a caregiver that's coming, and the family member's not right there, or whoever else lives in the home is not right there, or maybe there isn't someone else living in the home at that current moment, and they pull a gun on our caregiver because they don't know that they're supposed to be there, and they're knocking on the door and coming in the home, and it scares them. And it's we just don't want any accidental issues or things. So weapons, especially guns, if you have a loved one that has guns in their home and they're starting to have these issues, I would certainly have that conversation and address that, because it's a big safety risk for sure.
It is. And then the child proofing the home, as much as we report back to parenting, it really is, those doorknobs, now they have the magnets where you can open the doors and you hold the magnet over it. They've got the ones for the cabinets, it's with anything, the stove knobs where they can't turn your gas or electric stove on to cause any harm to themselves or the home. If you do have someone who's a wanderer, locks on the door, the old school like chains, where you kind of put it at the top and then it locks across, put it at the very top of the door, and lock them at night.
Like alarms. We have them for our house because we have a pool in our backyard. And so, even if it's something simple like a door chime, but they have like alarms you can put very simply, you're not going to damage anything, that you can put on and buy anywhere. Walmart,
they're like that double-sided tape. Yeah. They won't cause any harm to your home at all.
Mm-hmm. But then if the door is open, and you can turn them on at certain times, if the doors are open, say the front door or the back door, the alarm is going to go off. Anything that's going to notify you that someone is going somewhere that they probably shouldn't be because you're not expecting it, at least gives you the notice so you can step in and intervene and make sure, oh wait, mom's going out the front door.
Especially at night. Especially at night, if you're the main caregiver and you do not have someone coming in to assist you at nighttime, and it's obviously a safety hazard for you too, that you need to be able to get some rest. It's one of those things where you want to be able to hear, because we have them in our home as well. So anytime any window opens, and it'll tell us what exact room of the window opening is. It'll say window open in office, window open in master. Same thing with the doors. It will tell us whatever door is being open. And it's loud. Our house is long and ranch style, so it is loud enough that if we were on the complete opposite side of the house, I can still hear the alarm system of whatever is going on the other side. Mm-hmm. And those things, like Annie said, they're easy, they're cheap to buy. Even the ones that kind of ding. They kind of sound like
so much technology out there. I mean,
so much
infinite options.
Almost like the refrigerator. When you open the refrigerator and you leave it open, it's like da 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 da. Yeah. They even have those too, where you can put them on the doors, and it just it's like, okay, where is that going off at? Yeah. That brings us to the next tip of water temperature. If they're helping assist you, like we talked about, with the kitchen or cooking things or trying to turn the water on for themselves.
Bathing, when they're taking a shower, they might not realize that they're putting the hot water on and not adding any cold water. And if that thermostat's not set to the proper safety temperature, where there's that max temp that it can go to, you can have some serious burn issues. And especially elderly folks, their skin is a lot thinner. They don't have as much tissue and fat tissue underneath the skin. So burns can be a huge issue, and that would be a long process of healing, and we just don't want to go down that
they don't road, even realize sometimes too, I'm one to blame. I take very hot showers and don't realize sometimes how hot my showers are, and so especially as fragile as their skin are, it's very important to make sure that the water temperatures are not extremely cold where they can get sick, or not extremely too hot, like Annie said, where we're in that burn zone. So those are always things you want to look out for. And that kind of brings us to our last tip for today, which is kind of fire safety precautions. When we walk the home in our free home assessment, we make sure that all of your smoke alarms work, because if you don't have active working smoke alarms, if they do happen to maybe set a blanket, or they're kneading and they leave the yarn next to a candle, they may not know obviously that they forgot this candle was sitting there when they put the newspaper down or the yarn down, whatever. and you won't know if your smoke alarms are not working, that there's a hazard in the home. So we always make sure that smoke alarms work. So obviously make sure yours are working, make sure your batteries have been updated recently. A lot of people think just because the light's blinking, it's working. It's not necessarily true. If your battery hasn't been updated in a while, I promise you it's probably not working.
Daylight savings time is when they say you always remember to check your batteries in your alarm.
Yeah. It's always when you last resort is when things happen that we think of these things. And that's why we're doing these podcasts, is try to prevent these things from happening to where you're not in those situations.
A fire extinguisher. I've done a couple of my last assessments, because that's part of our questions that we ask, how many are your smoke alarms active? Are they working? When did you change the batteries last? How many are there? Where are they? And then how many fire extinguishers do you have and where are they located? Partially so our staff know where they are in case of any emergencies, but also to make sure you have them. And I've had a couple families to say, you know what, I don't know if mom has one actually. And they look around like, actually, I don't think we have one in the kitchen. So it's just sometimes these things just slip by. We all have a lot going on, a lot on our plate. And it just might be something that, you moved mom into a new apartment, downsized her, and you totally forgot about that. And so these are
fire extinguishers are not always on someone's first priority to have in the first place. But when you have a senior living, especially if they're living with you or living on their own, it's one of those things where it's always the best thing to have, especially nowadays. So many people are living in more and more rural areas. I'm the first one that lives way out here, and there's not much out here. So by the time somebody gets to us, we had a neighbor, for example. They were not home. We were having a really bad thunderstorm. Lightning struck their house, and then happened to strike right at their AC unit. No fire extinguisher in sight. It took the fire department about 20 minutes to get here. Their house burned down in a total of 47 minutes. And I mean, concrete to the ground. And it was a brand new brick home. And we don't realize how fast those fires can escalate and how hot they get when they're feeding off of couches and curtains and rugs and everything else in our homes. And so having a fire extinguisher, whether you have a senior in your home or not, is always important for anybody, because if anything happens, it's boom, and you put out the fire. You may have some damage, but you can solve it quick enough before it escalates to anything bigger.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, obviously those are worst case scenarios, but they're important things to think about. There are things that we do have to always kind of have on our radar, because you don't want to be caught in that moment and not have a way to fix it. So
exactly.
Again, these were just some brief tips, like we've mentioned, for how to take the best care possible that we can of our loved ones and family members and friends that are suffering with Alzheimer's and dementia. So thanks again for tuning in to our tips today. If you find that you or your loved one are struggling with caring for someone with this process, that maybe you need a little extra help, maybe you just need someone to come in and relieve you for a few hours so you can go take a break and a breath of fresh air, we can certainly jump in and help you with that. If you'd like a free in-home consultation with that safety assessment that we mentioned earlier, go onto our website anytime. It's www.carecrewdfw.com, and you can fill out a form there or call us, and we'll be happy to schedule our free consultation for us to come out and check out your home, give you some safety tips, and see how we might be able to best serve you. That phone number, for any of you that haven't gotten it yet, it's 817-242-4717. You can call or text that number anytime, and we would love to be able to have the opportunity to chat with you. And if you found this content helpful, make sure you're subscribed, that you're liking, and give us any feedback, any comments that you may have, and share it with those you think might also benefit, because sharing is caring. So make sure that we're giving it to anyone you think might be in a similar situation. And don't forget, we've got one more episode left in our Alzheimer's series, which will be coming out next week. So don't forget to come back and tune in for the last episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.